on usawatchdog.com.
Thank you for having me back, brother. It's an honor to be here.
And might I add, all the prophecies are for free on your website, Sword, SWORD, rescue.com, right?
SORD, rescue.com.
SORD, rescue.com. So they're all for free. This is a lot about the backstory and what you went through and as a firefighter and the trauma that you went through along with your prophecies. But, I mean, that was an outrageous thing that some people thought that, there's going to be military tribunals. Then we find out the FBI had an investigation. Robert Mueller, who is now the special prosecutor, oversaw it, did not stop the transfer of 1/5 of uranium production, U.S. uranium production, go to the Russians. He knew all about it, didn't do it. He's now picked to basically go after Trump for Russian collusion. These are the Russians. They knew they had money laundering. They knew they had extortion, bribes, all with this Uranium One deal. He knew it in a several-year investigation. Comey also knew about it, covered up the Clinton crimes by giving people immunity and then destroying their laptops and everything else. Hillary Clinton used some private servers to cover treasonous bribes taken in the form of donations to a charity fraud. This involves Bill Clinton, her husband, who got a $500,000 speaking fee from a bank related to the Uranium One deal. This is President Obama knew all about it as he was conversing with Hillary Clinton. Now we have this big picture that they knew this big fraud, this money laundering, this bribery. This is according to the FBI. They knew this was going on and covered it up. And then we have, this all came out after you said there's going to be military tribunals because the scope of this is monstrous. It's huge. Right. I'm going to be interviewing Ed Klein, best-selling author, who's out with this new book. And I got the workup on it, All Out War. Edward Klein, who is a credentialed best-selling author, New York Times guy, who said they hatched a plan to try to take Trump down after the election. He's got it in his book with quotes and sources that the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, Obama, all the players in the Obama administration went after Donald Trump to try to get him impeached. This is absolutely now your title, there's going to be military tribunals, doesn't look so cray-cray. It is a huge, unbelievable, organized crime, attempt, treason to take down a duly elected incoming president. Where are we now?
Well, I had the Lord sort of dealing with me about these tribunals probably about 2 or 3 weeks before the election. And he kept telling me, I kept hearing there's going to be military-style tribunals. And because the length, the width, the depth of the scope of this corruption is so big, it's going to boggle people's minds. I mean, I'm getting emails all the time right now, Greg, people telling me, look, I can't believe how big this is. Folks, put your seatbelts on. This is going to be going on for years because these military-style tribunals are going to have to take place because this thing is so big that right now we're just scratching the surface. We're just beginning to see what all was this is entailed. Because, again, this thing is so big, it's going to take military-style tribunals in order to handle this because these are treasonous acts that are taking place right now. And you're seeing treason in this country on a scale that's never been seen in the history of our country because of how many people are going to be involved.
Well, just to back you up, and I'm not trying to be your lackey. As a reporter, I'm just trying to put on what I think's real. And is there sourcing to back that up? Newt Gingrich is a former Speaker of the House. He has just come out. He's also a history professor, a PhD. And he says that this Uranium One deal and what went on with Trump and what went on with Clinton to try to take him out and this whole Uranium One deal is the biggest political scandal in U.S. history. The biggest political scandal in U.S. history. It's beyond scandal. It's out and out, cut and dried treason, right?
It's treason, and again, you're seeing people do these treasonous acts. Again, this is on a scale that's never been seen before in the history of the United States, and that's why these military-style tribunals are going to have to take place. Again, this is divine justice that's being poured out upon the earth. America's not under judgment. It's the systems that are under judgment right now, whether it's our political system, whether it's our judicial system, the immigration system. It doesn't matter. Even the church is under judgment right now. And if you are a leader in this country, and you are corrupt, God himself is going to expose you and he will remove you.
The Hollywood thing, we talked about this. You brought this up with the timeline. 2022 was the year that supposedly the Illuminati and the evildoers were going to try to Islamify the country and take over the country. And then there's Chronicles 2 that came out and about, and I'll let you explain this, but Hollywood, woo, they're eating on each other. And then we have Donna Brazile come out and say Hillary Clinton rigged the election against Bernie Sanders and took over the DNC. What? Excuse me? All of a sudden, we're seeing these people eat on each other. What say you?
Yeah, and what you're seeing happen? There was a gentleman.
Wait. What is Chronicles 2022? You told me this.
Right. And that's what I was going to lead up to, is that because this is very important that people at least have a little bit of history on this. There was a gentleman that wrote a book called The Islamization of America by 2021. That's what he had found out. And then there was a gentleman who felt like he had cracked the Freemason code, talking about that they were going to have America under siege under the New World Order by 2022. Now, what you're seeing taking place right now with the Clintons, the Obamas, all of this stuff, the day they arrest Hillary Clinton, you think this lady's going to go down by herself? No way. She's going to sing like a bird. And I'm telling you, what you're seeing happening with Donna Brazile and the Clinton right now is you're seeing the enemy turn on one another and devour one another, which is 2 Chronicles 2021 and 2022. And it talks about where the enemy turns and devours one another. And notice those numbers, 2021, 2022, which was their timeline to have America captured. And what God is saying right now is that, no, that's not going to happen. The enemy has his timeline, which was 2021, 2022, but God is saying, I have my timeline. And God does not go by any man's written timeline, period. God has his own timeline. Now, and he has stopped the enemy's timeline, so it's not going to happen. So what you're going to see from this point on is that, again, people just need to strap in, get ready for the ride, put your seatbelts on, because this is going to be going on for years. This is going to get bigger and bigger. The exposures are going to continue to keep coming. And, again, these military-style tribunals are going to take place. You're seeing even Hollywood getting wrecked right now. So, again, this is just the beginning.
Edward Klein, the guy that wrote the brand new Trump book, All Out War, he wrote another book. This is the book again. I'm going to be interviewing him in the next few days. But Edward Klein, credentialed guy, real guy, best-selling author, worked at the New York Times. I mean, he's the real deal, Holyfield. And he came out years ago, another best-selling book. He came out and talked about the blood feud, Clintons and Obamas. What do you think? And I know you can't prophesize everything. You can't have a prophecy for every single thing, but I'm just getting your thoughts on this. What do you think is going to happen when they really start putting pressure on Hillary and Obama and Bill Clinton? What do you think is going to happen between the feud between Hillary and Bill Clinton, which they settled it out because the money was too good? Right. What do you think is going to happen between these guys? We had a bona fide blood feud, according to Ed Klein, well documented, hated each other, the Clintons and the Obamas.
I think it's going to be 2 Chronicles 2021, 2022. You're going to see them turn on one another. This thing's going to get nasty. They have the mentality where if I go down, we all go down. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. And you're going to see that. You're seeing it taking place right now. The Donna Brazile thing was something minor, in my opinion, compared to what's coming as far as them turning on one another.
I wonder why she came out with that now. Why now? Why all of a sudden?
I don't know.
We're a year into the Trump presidency almost. Why now? I mean,
right.
Since the election, I should say, a year. You got inaugurated on the 20th or whatever. But I want to talk about another thing that I called you about, and this is part of the reason why I booked you, is that and I've never seen this. Another thing I've never seen happen before, and I know you know about this. This is the 5 presidents. They all got together to trash Donald Trump. Of course, Jimmy Carter came out and said that Hillary just lost the election and it was Obama's fault. But here's Lady Gaga, which also I want you to talk about her too as well. She has said she is a Luciferian, that she is for the devil. But when I told you about this picture and about this thing going on, you said that God's using her, and I thought, what? Excuse me, God's using her?
Yeah.
But here's the picture. Here's Lady Gaga. Here's there's the 41 Bush. There's 43 Bush. There's Clinton. There's 44 Barack Obama, and then of course there's Jimmy Carter. Tell me about what you flew all over you with the five presidents. What came to you? And now you got an actual prophecy from them. What came to you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm not done with the prophecy yet, so the only thing I can release is what I believe the Lord tells me I can release right now at this point. I don't get a written prophecy about everything. I didn't get a written prophecy so much about the tribunals. This is just something that the Lord told me was coming. And right now, this is what the Lord tells me is coming with these X5 presidents. And as I was looking at the picture, they were doing this Hurricane Harvey, relief effort or whatever it was. They're trying to raise money for Hurricane Harvey. But we all know that's a bunch of lies. These guys could care less about people. It's about their agenda. They disguised it as a relief effort for Hurricane Harvey victims, and they go in there and they trash Donald Trump. Well, I've said this before. I'll say it again. The Bible says, do not touch my anointed, but especially my prophets. And these guys have now touched God's anointed, Donald Trump. They used it as a platform to go in there and attack. Well, as I was looking at the picture, it wasn't that picture that I saw. It was the 5 presidents. The 3 younger ones were in the middle, and it was Bush 41 and Carter on the ends. And the Lord told me, he says, Mark, I want you to go back, and I want you to count how many years total that these guys have in office. And it was 32 years because the 2 outside ones, the older ones, only had 1 term each. So it was 32 years. Now, he says, look up the number 32 in the Bible. Number 32 in the Bible means covenant. And he says, the covenant that these 5 presidents have had with that entity called Baal, because Baal is the strong man over America, is going to be broken. And then he said 2 of these ex-presidents will be taken and 3 will be shaken.
Whew.
So,
this
in other words,
this is a different picture than what you
Yes.
looked at, just so you know,
Right.
just so people know that.
Right.
I picked this picture out because I wanted you to talk about her, but there's several
Right.
pictures of the 5 presidents for this event. Several pictures. This one, I have Lady Gaga in this picture. So in this case, the outside one is Clinton and Carter. So
Right.
so just so you know, you looked at different, but still, prophecy is again. You give your prophecy. 2 will be taken.
Two will be taken. In other words, God's going to remove 2, and 3 will be shaken. Now, I want to explain that. That doesn't mean assassination or anything like that. God's just going to take these guys home, period. He's going to remove them. And it will be assigned for certain things. The other 3 will be shaken. And I believe that 2 of them will run risk of going to prison, and the 3rd one will also be shaken due to having to testify or legal issues or whatever the case may be. Now, I don't know if all 3 of those will go to prison, but I believe there's a very good possibility that 2 out of the 3 could face jail time because of what they've done. So, again, 2 will be taken, 3 will be shaken. Now, here's what I sense. I'm not prophesying this. Here's what I sense about the 2 that will be taken. Once the first one goes, the second one will not be far behind the first one. That's just what I sense.
All right, and when I told you about this picture, I focused on this picture because she, Lady Gaga, I've heard her say it. I'm for Satan. I'm a Luciferian. I mean, I've heard her say it. It's pretty well known fact that she is Gaga here. But when I called you about this, you said to me, God's going to use her, and I thought, wow.
Right.
I mean, I know God uses evil. God does all kinds of things. But that was kind of, you went and you explained it. Please explain, how is God going to use Lady Gaga? Has she had a turn of heart, a change of heart?
No, I don't. Honestly, I've been reading some articles about her on how she came to fame, and I know she's been very ill. She's been very sick, and she had actually made comments that how she got into fame so quickly was through the Illuminati, and she had sold her soul to the Illuminati, and she regretted doing that. Now, she has gone public with this stuff, and she was actually looking for someone to help deliver her, which to me is a good sign. So, in a way, God is already using her to expose the Illuminati and these young men and women who want to get fame and fortune and this, that, and the other, that this is what the Illuminati does. You sell your soul to the devil, and unfortunately, there's going to come a time when he comes back for his dues. So God's using her right now, even though she may not be a Christian. I pray that one day that she does get saved and delivered. But even though she's not at this point, God is still using her to expose all of this. And that's the whole thing behind this. It's no different than if Hillary Clinton, God can use Hillary Clinton, because when she does get arrested or whatever the case may be, and she starts singing, well, God's using her at that point to expose a bunch of other things that they've been involved in and other people. So, I believe at some point, I don't know, but I pray at some point Hillary Clinton does come to know the Lord. But for people like her who are hardcore demon-possessed people, it's going to take losing everything you have, going to prison. It's almost like a drug dealer or an alcoholic or drug addict and alcoholic. They have to hit rock bottom before they're ready for help. So if she has a chance of coming to the Lord, it's going to take her losing everything she has and probably going to prison before that happens.
Oh, boy. I've long thought that Chelsea ran that charity fraud. I mean, Charles O'Tell came on here. He does big workups of huge companies. He's a very smart guy. He's a legitimate Wall Street guy that does workups for companies to whether or not they're good long-term investments. And he just dissected the Clinton Foundation. It's a fraud. I mean, it's a fraud. Yeah. Even James Kallstrom, a former assistant FBI director, said it's a huge criminal conspiracy. I mean, this is an open fraud secret. It's not a secret. People in Washington know it's a fraud.
Yeah,
but Hillary's daughter, Chelsea, she ran that fraud.
Right.
I can't imagine the pressure they're going to put on. I don't think Bill cares one way or the other, but Hillary does. I can't imagine the pressure they're going to put on her. That, listen, Chelsea can get out when she's like your age, honey, if you like. Or you can roll over and save Chelsea. I think she's going to save Chelsea.
Yeah. I don't know, honestly. I just know that she's the type of person that's not going to go down alone. And this Clinton, just the Clinton Foundation alone, Greg, is so huge. How many people are going to be implicated in this? Republicans and Democrats. It doesn't matter. Again, we don't have a two-party system anymore. It's not Democrats against Republicans. This is about globalism versus patriotism right now at this point, like we've talked about before. So this two-party thing, to me, doesn't even exist anymore. I don't even call myself a Republican anymore. I call myself a man of God, a child of God. That's who I am. So that's who I stand for and the principles that I stand for.
I had Pat Muth on, and she says, yeah, we got two parties. It's we the people versus the swamp.
Right. Right.
And that was a wonderful thing she said. Sorry, I got a cold. I know you do too, man. But I'm on the good side of it. I'm on the bad side of it. But anyway, this whole I just reading. This is another thing I read about the depth of the treason. And I'm not accusing John Kerry, but boy, he sure did cut a terrible deal. Excuse me, he cut a terrible no deal. There are no signatures on the Iran deal. He keeps saying this is a deal. There's no deal if there's no signatures. And Mike Pompeo, who's now the head of the CIA, when he was a congressman, he got the Kerry State Department, and a deputy in the Kerry State Department wrote him a letter. You can find this Pompeo-Iran deal. No signatures. They said, we don't have any signatures. I mean, we gave them pallets of money, which is illegal, and we gave them over $100 to $150 billion, depending on what number you like, and no deal. And then we find out here just recently, that the Russians are building 2 nuclear power plants for Iran. Oh, right. Let's see. They also got control of a fifth of our uranium production, and they sent yellow cake out of the country. Huh? Really? I wonder if there's any kind of coincidence in that with John Kerry as Secretary of State pushing the no deal Iran deal, no signature Iran deal.
Yeah, Kim Clement years ago gave a prophecy. I got to go back and listen to it. He had talked about where Russia would do something, and it had to do with the color yellow. I can't remember exactly the particulars of it, where they would get caught with their pants down, and they would be humiliated in front of the entire world. And I think that that may be what it takes to turn Russia around a little bit. So, I mean, as far as that goes, I need to go back and listen to that prophecy and see what he actually said about that, because for some reason that's ringing true in a lot of this, because when you say yellow cake and it brings back the color yellow, what he was talking about, that may be what he was prophesying about at this point.
Well, there's no question this is a huge deal. Right. As I've said, the professor of the former Speaker of the House and a professor of history, Newt Gingrich, says the biggest political scandal in U.S. history.
Well, look, and let's don't forget something here, Greg. Is that we have a treasonous act that's being committed in the natural. What are the spiritual implications behind these people? Because when these people are purposely forwarding the kingdom of darkness, the New World Order, which these 5 presidents have been doing, all I can say is, woe unto you leaders, because there is going to be a heavy price to pay, because you also are committing a spiritual type treason. Let's go back to what Judas did to the Lord. And the Lord said, it would have been better off if you had not been born. Now, that's pretty heavy, because you're talking about betrayal at the highest level of our country right here. And not to mention the fact, a highest betrayal on a spiritual level, because you are going against what the Lord actually wants. You're not furthering heaven's agenda. You are furthering the kingdom of darkness's agenda. And you have people up there who call themselves Christians, including these 5 presidents, and they are doing this. All I can say is woe unto them, man. There better be some serious repentance from these guys going on, is all I can say.
I think the last chapter of the Bible says don't change or don't omit or add to the Bible.
Right.
And boy, they're doing what you're doing. You're omitting a lot.
Right. And you're
ignoring a lot. And you're leaders.
Well, the leaders are ignoring a lot. I mean, let's just talk about the pedophilia thing for a minute. I mean, if you hold the highest office in the land, and you are a part of the pedophilia, or you know about the pedophilia, and you don't do anything about it, but yet you have the power to do so, you have the power to stop it, you're just as guilty as the person committing the act. Period. And this is what Donald Trump is doing. He is putting a stop to this mess. He knows this stuff's going on. We've got the ex-military guys, ex-Navy SEALs out there trying to stop this pedophilia. I think it's Vets for Pedophilia or Child. I can't remember what it is now. But these guys are doing a great service trying to yank these kids out of these pedophilia rings, the child sacrifice rings. I mean, again, if these guys were in the highest office in the land, they knew this stuff was going on, and they didn't do anything about it. There needs to be some serious repentance on these guys' parts. And you're talking about this with every leader across the country.
And look what happened in Hollywood. It's not just adult sexual assault. It is adult to child sexual assault.
Right.
From big name Academy Award winners, and I don't want to name all the names, but big name people have. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I grabbed her butt when she was 17. Yeah, I did this to a boy who was. Oh boy. Oh, whoa.
Right.
Whoa.
Right. And it's like the abortion issue. People have to understand the spiritual connotation of all this stuff. It is all to do with witchcraft. It's all to do with Baal being that entity over America, the strong man over America. All this stuff empowers that entity called Baal, especially the abortion issue.
Child sacrifice.
Child sacrifice. And let me tell you something. The people have to understand this. Women got to understand this, and men have to understand this. This whole pro-choice thing and women's health thing is a bunch of garbage. These people, these leaders, these satanic, demonic-possessed leaders, they don't care about you as a person. They don't care about a woman's right to choose. They don't care about your health. They could care less. All they want you to do is abort that baby, because they know that when you abort that baby, it is a sacrifice unto their god called Baal. And it empowers their god called Baal, which is why they do this. It has nothing. You're being lied to. You're being duped. You've been indoctrinated into thinking that it's about a woman's right to choose and women's health. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with sacrificing that child, aborting that baby as a sacrifice unto their god called Baal, because they know every time a woman does it, it empowers that entity called Baal.
Something else, I have a lot of people on here worried about the debt. We have some astronomical debt, Mark. I mean, I think the right person is in the office, and I've said this before on the air multiple times. I mean, if we have somebody else in the office, we might lose Alaska. Oh, we'll pay you. Here, you can have Alaska. You can have Hawaii. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what you can have Montana. You can have Idaho. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
That ain't going to happen with Trump. He came out and said that the Puerto Rican debt, that's got to be wiped out. It's going to hurt people. People are going to get creamed, but it's going to be the best thing for America. And you have a very positive view about America coming up, and that we shouldn't be so doom and gloom. And I have been guilty of that myself, I'm sorry to say, although the debt is astronomical. I mean, 20 trillion and counting, and then 21 trillion stolen, according to people like Catherine Austin Fitts. Tell me about what you see for America if this thing gets cleaned up.
Well, what the God has told me is that what the enemy has stolen from America will come back to America sevenfold, because that's what the Bible talks about, is when you catch the enemy, basically he has to repay you sevenfold. And that's in my prophecy I wrote, America, America. It talks about where I wrote that October 7th, 2015 in America, America. And it talks about literally where the enemy is going to have to repay America sevenfold. I wrote another one called Energy, Energy. America and Israel are fixing to be the top energy producers in the world. So you're seeing the economy already coming back. You're seeing manufacturing come back. You're seeing jobs come back. Everything this president has promised so far, he has kept his word, which is what the Trump prophecy said, that he would be a man of his word. So you're going to see all these things take place. Now, I want to go back to what Kim Clement prophesied years ago. He said that there would come someone, I believe in the White House, that just like David and Goliath, it would be something to do with the debt. I have to go back and listen to it. But with one stone, this man would take care of the debt, and it would be gone. So I think that's what you're seeing taking place. You're seeing all this stuff beginning to take place, the manufacturing, the jobs, the economy's coming back. You're seeing the energy stuff. So now, is it going to happen overnight? It may be a process. But either way, America's going to prosper like never before.
I love it. And with that, we will end right there. Things are going, I love having you on. I called you about the picture of the presidents, and then you started talking about things you were getting. This latest prophecy, which you guys just got about 2 will be taken and 3 will be shaken. That's the 5